explain some of the questions we had? Ed sent them a bunch of questions concerning the sewer, water fund, sewer fund, what's the best way to get it up to snuff and pay for the increases we're going to have in costs. So, I don't know, Ed, if you want to start, or you think...
No, Mike, that's my email, I think.
Yeah, I read your email.
Talks for itself, at least my questions anyway, it's not.
I'm trying to answer everybody's questions.
Okay, very good.
I'm going to do 4 things.
Okay.
First, I'm going to start with the money that's been borrowed from the general fund and the water fund to pay the bonds because the sewer fund did not have enough money.
That's a huge issue.
Okay.
And certainly for me.
Okay. The second,
I mean, that's been going on for months now.
Yeah.
actually,
It's gotten worse.
the second issue is the recharacterization of the serial bond payments. Right now, they're being paid both by usage and by assessmental fees. The third issue is the dirt, and again, the different options. We quickly have been through that. I've tried to restructure it so it's a little simpler for me to explain and hopefully for everybody to understand. And fourth and last, the issue of income tax deduction on the sewer fees and or any real estate taxes. So those are the 4 issues. I'm going to start with the first one, which is the repayment. I do have a handout, but I want to discuss it first, and I'll give it to you. Basically, we borrowed again $118,000 just the other day to help pay the bond that came due in March, or did come due in March. I think it was just the interest had to be paid. And apparently the projection is that there's not enough money to pay the principal and interest come May or April, whenever that is.
April.
And therefore, the money was borrowed from the water fund and of $118,000 plus, and that's on top of the $483,000 that we've already borrowed from the general fund to pay past serial bond payments. Now, to understand why are we doing this, it's twofold. One, obviously, we are not getting the full amount from the town. I believe if the town paid us the full amount, we would have another $300,000 or thereabout in our situation or in our fund. This doesn't. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is the revenue being generated by the sewer is in flux. It's in flux for a number of reasons. One, the money for the bonds are taken from more than one place. Number 2, the allocation of DPW staff to sewer is different each and every year. We have a fixed amount, and we probably should be charging more in sewer for some of these expenses. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily the case. Some of this is going to be exposed in arbitration, which is happening soon. So what I did was said we need to do one of 2 things. We need to go out and get another VAN to give the village, the general fund, back its money, and then pay that out of the sewer over a 5-year period, or simply pay back the general and water over a 5-year period, preferably first paying the water back, which is going to need it, and then over the 4 years after that to pay the general fund. I did 3 things to look at that. One, what would that cost us to increase the assessment? Basically, the assessment, if you recall, is every quarter. We pay it in the sewer bill. It's a separate line item, and right now it is $70 for the sewer, $10 for the water. We would have to increase that by $9 a quarter, or $36 a year. That $36 a year based on interest rates that we charge the sewer from the general, and if it was a BAN, whatever those interest rates would be at market, which is rather low right now, I figured it would be about $36, give or take, obviously, once we have real numbers.
No, that's, I'm sorry if I just,
Oh, and please interrupt and come.
That's to pay if we go with the Ethereum, take a BAN now, pay back general
And water.
in full, and then pay that BAN out of 5 years out of the sewer, and
Or-
partially out of the water fund, I suppose. We'll pay it out of those, well, no, out of the sewer, I apologize, out of the sewer fund.
Right, or just pay it back every year from these fees.
Right, okay, so
Without going
to pay back that BAN,
we
which would have to be about $600K, according to my rough math here.
Okay, we're
Well,
gonna stop.
The other issue,
No, the total principal we
obviously,
need to take on that BAN, 600 and change.
we got this,
600 and 1,000.
Okay.
we got this March 4th memo from the treasurer showing that in March, April, and May of last year, we needed $1,474,000 to cover expenses.
Right.
We're not gonna have it.
That's right.
And one of the main reason why we're not gonna have it is because of that $483,000 we borrowed to pay the sewer, so we gotta do something about that.
And on top of that, I mean, just to compound to make it real, because I believe firmly that the money that was borrowed from the general fund and the money that was borrowed from the water fund most certainly needs to be taken care of immediately, because we are working in water, and I know I've said this to all of you, but since we're being taped, the public should be aware as well, that we need that money to keep the process going on getting the TRB well finalized. I mean, we're meeting with the county on a regular basis to try to finalize how it is we're going to have to satisfy the requirements for what they're doing now, this time with the bridge, and working together and trying to keep it the most money cautious. But we've built up a reserve in water in order to be able to cover these costs. $118,000 taken at that must be paid back immediately.
So and if we
We need
do,
it to function.
if we do the 5-year BAN, those funds will be restored this year, correct? And it'll be $36 per unit on an annual basis for 5 years?
Thereabout, yes.
Okay. So that would solve the problem of restoring funds this year?
Right.
Okay.
Well,
With
I
both the
don't-
general fund and the sewer,
And
and
the
the
water
water
fund.
fund, excuse me. Yeah.
Of course, the concern, which I don't have the answer for, which once a general consensus for the direction, so we can eliminate other directions, is what is this all going to cost us rate-wise? Because don't forget, we've got 28 million out there, we're looking at another 6.5 perhaps for the dirt, and then a $600,000 BAN on top of that. You get to the point where sometimes the rate then goes up, because obviously we have a lot of debt. Not that we're at our limit, but the more debt you have, the more expensive it becomes. That was why one of the suggestions was to pay it back over a 5-year period. Clearly, the water would be the first. And you could do a combination. You could borrow the BAN just for the water, and then pay back the general fund over the remaining, over 5 years. You could do a variety of different things. However, before we do that, we have to make sure that the water fund, the sewer fund doesn't keep running out of money every year.
Right.
Yeah. So, all that's got to tie in to the user rates and all that.
Any thoughts on, Mike, why it's running out of money?
Well, the rate isn't high.
There's a lot of reasons. One reason is I don't believe the rates are high enough to pay the serial bonds and the operating costs.
Okay.
Number two, we have a fixed amount, which was an issue with the town. We have a fixed amount that we're paying the the DPW every year. I did a study for '08, I did a study for '09. Those numbers are way out of whack each year. One is higher, one is lower. We've already talked to the treasurer, I've already talked to Mike, the DPW, and we're looking at ways of restructuring the help, the labor, so that it is specifically paid out of each of the water, sewer, or general, depending on what they work on. So we're hoping to be able to institute that for the new year.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
I think that one of my, beyond the financial, or everything's related to the financial, but in order for the public to have a real picture of financial, communities all over are going, when you go through building a new sewer plant or water plant or financing any big job, you're talking about dealing with issues that you have no choice about dealing with. I mean, if anyone had their druthers about not having to deal with any of these things that are difficult to do and that always will cost the taxpayers more money, no one would do it, and certainly not elected officials. But the reality is, our responsibility is to provide functioning, forward-looking, and that's exactly what was done here. I think that to look upon, for example, the DPW used to be able to come up with a budget where they could guesstimate what they'd be doing for sewer, what they'd be doing for water. But then, when reality, when you build a new plant, when you have other issues going on, it has to be readjusted. Certainly, we know that there was a lot of time that had to go to deal with issues. That's where you go. And coming up with a new program where you can analyze on a more finite basis how many hours a day have to go to one or another is brilliant and necessary to be done. But I wouldn't want it to be perceived as being anything other than a positive move on all our parts doing this. It is not a reaction to a negative, but it's refining where we have to go in order to deal with the reality. Every community around us has had to update, is going through the same thing.
You're absolutely correct. And remember this, water and sewer normally need to stand on their own. The rents need to pay for all the operating
It's that
expenses.
simple.
And it really is that simple, and if it's not happening, then they have to be adjusted.
Correct.
And unfortunately, that's not been, with the new sewer plant, you're absolutely right. How much was it going to cost for our labor to get the thing going?
You don't know until you do it.
Until it's done. Now it's online, what is it costing now to keep it going? And what happens if something breaks and you need to spend 40 hours on it? You have to budget, and then every year, if that budget is within sewer, if there's excess, well, fine, it can help with the following year, or maybe lower the rates, or no.
Well, we'll wait for the day that there's excess.
Well, the other thing that's very simple about this is that at some point here, because the sewer fund wasn't covering itself, we borrowed $483,000 from the general fund to reimburse the sewer fund. Either we charge that through sewer, which is the way it should be charged, or come the end of the fiscal year, we'd have to raise people's taxes to pay that $483,000 back. It's got to come one place or the other.
Right, all right, so if we do that,
What's
and now we also talked about on their second assessment issue of more proper way of keeping our books would be collect a higher assessment and stop paying some of the bond out of the usage that we're getting.
Okay.
So if we did that, then the rate structure might not have to change though.
Well, that's the key. The second issue is, of course, the way we're paying our serial bonds now. What's happening is our serial bonds are running approximately $1.5 million, somewhere around there.
Right.
We are short $422,000 every year
Right.
from the sewer assessment fees versus what we're paying the serial bonds. So the rest comes out of operations. Okay. The problem with that is
Sewer operation.
sewer operations.
Well, it's big and
Okay,
clear.
and this is a fixed number. This number doesn't change from year to year.
Mhm.
It remains the same until these serial bonds are paid off in
Mhm.
full. So we pay almost the same amount every year, principal and interest. Now, the principal goes up, the interest goes down, but the payment, like your mortgage at home, remains the same. So we could pretty well shift that $422,000 from operations to the assessment. By doing that, the assessments would cover completely the serial bonds. There would not be a shortage, there would not be a question. It would not come out of operations, which may be short because we have a repair and maintenance
And
problem.
you don't know what's going to
And
happen.
we don't know, because that would now be separate. What does that cost? That costs $30 a quarter or $120 a year.
Right.
Just to jump in now, Michael, this would probably be a good point to talk about the idea of doing it based on usage, that I asked about.
Well, could you just, before you go into that, this 30 and 36 to do it on the assessment would total 66.
30 and 9, 39 a quarter, or $156 a year.
The 36.
The 36
is a
was
year.
per year.
Per year.
Okay,
30 per quarter.
so to pay it all out of the assessment to get us in red, before we go into the rate structure,
Right.
so just clear in my mind, would be $39 in the assessment?
Per quarter.
Per quarter, yeah, per quarter, yeah.
That's one way of doing it.
That's, yeah, that,
Kyle,
I just
before
want to
you
have
go
my
into there,
head.
just because I have one more simple question before that. If we went that route then of part number 2,
39 per
30 a quarter, would we then be collecting enough usage fees to do the operations and maintenance?
Well, what I did
Under
do,
the current rate structure?
what I did do is, I didn't actually address that question completely, because I have to relook at the budget.
Sure.
But based on what we ended the year 2010, 5/31/10, which is the closest year we have,
Right.
Sure.
we could reduce the sewer rents by anywhere from $70 to $75, $78 a year in usage.
Mhm.
But usage is a funny thing,
Oh.
so let me get to that at this point. So in effect, we would reduce it by 78, we would increase it by 120. Now,
So wait, the answer to my question would be yes,
Yes.
and we may be collecting too much, so we may be able to bring the rates down.
Correct.
Yet to be
Right now, we're
determined
taking
what
our-
we would be able to do that.
Right now, we're taking maintenance income and putting it towards the debt. If the debt is
Yeah.
self-sustaining, we don't need to take that money from maintenance, we'll leave.
So we'll have extra maintenance money left
Correct.
over.
In
In
theory.
theory. Okay, good. So the answer to my question is yes,
Yes.
and we may even then be able to drop it down.
And are you realistic?
Depending on the analysis.
yes,
Okay, cool.
But
Good.
before we even talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I
Jump in
just-
before I ask my question.
No,
I'm sorry.
Answer your question.
I just knew your question was.
No, no.
Kyle, I just knew your question
Jumped in
before.
front of you.
I know I'm young, but.
so the question on usage, I think we should deal with this question.
Yeah, no.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that right? Is that
Well,
your
the
question?
idea that I've made before is that, in theory, if you look at it from the outside, you say, okay, there needs to be an increase. You would think, okay, do it based on usage, those that use less pay less, those that use more pay more. So I brought that up to you, and, you gave me a response that's making me very much reconsider that. So if you want to.
I will give you, I did an analysis on the $36 assessment, the one to pay back the general and the water. What if, was my question to me, or the questions that each of you in one form or another had once asked me over time, what would be the, if it went from, instead of an assessment, it went to usage? Okay. So the first thing, obviously, that's on everybody's mind, what about the people at the bottom? The people who right now are paying $140, that's it. That's what they're paying, $140. How's the $140? The $140 is $70 sewer fee, $10 water fee, $30 water usage, $30 sewer usage. So for sewer, it's $100. Okay? The other
Yeah.
40 is for water.
Right.
Okay. So I did a whole convoluted calculation, which I'm not going to share with you. The fact of the matter is, the lowest of the group, which is 283 people, would increase their sewer rents, sewer expense, by $12.36
Per year.
per year. The second level, which I don't have the number of people in that level, we weren't able to ascertain that in a short period of time, their sewer usage would go up $57. Now, my sense tells me, and this is not scientific, that that's going to be of the 3,510 units.
The most,
That's going to be the most units.
you and me.
Okay? So instead of paying 36, they're going to pay 57. That's what it means. And the third part of that, which I've seen happen before, is once you start raising the usage rates of the people who use it a lot, they find ways to cut down their usage, and now we got to raise the rates in order to get the money in. It's an anomaly when you have a situation where you raise the rates hoping you're going to get more money, but now people conserve, therefore you get less money, and why did you do this in the first place?
And you'd have to readjust.
And then you have to readjust, always up, you know. So I'm not sure whether it would be unfair to the minimum users, but they would pay another $24, if my numbers are right, per year on just the repayment.
$12.
No, from 12 to 36,
Okay.
they would pay 24 more.
With 223 households, and then, like you said, most, which is probably the major majority of people in the village, would actually pay more
Yes,
by raising the rate structure,
exactly.
Correct.
rather than
The
doing
average
the
home
assessment.
would pay more under usage.
The average home would pay more under usage. I can't find a way where they would not.
And all the other entities in the village, the county building, hospital, that have a large number of units, but small usage, because people aren't showering at the county building, they're not washing the grass at the county building, all those units would be paying the minimum. So they would
Correct.
also see a very, very small increase, whereas the average homeowner would see a much larger increase.
I could not say it better.
And I think that that's very worthy of your pointing out again, because I think people think that they only, you know, they use such a small amount. I had it happen Saturday night at a dinner party. I only use, it's only two of us, how much water could I possibly be using? The bottom line is that I think it's important for the public to understand, and you should reiterate again, that when you do it by units, the way that we do, the larger users, the larger entities end up paying more of the burden than the average homeowner. Usage, though it seems to be the simple way to do it, is not the way that they are dealt with most fairly. I'm just repeating it, because I think it's important for the public to understand.
I even did that for my own building, myself.
Yeah,
I will pay more in the assessment than I will pay if it was...
well then, it's obviously way back.
And that's true of anybody with multiple units. There's no question.
It's just gonna increase his hours.
And also, and I know you broached it in the beginning, any assessment, what it currently is and what it will be when we finish, that's tax deductible, right? Because the
Okay.
assessment is
Well,
for...
we'll get there.
We're gonna get there at the end. If you don't mind waiting for that, can I?
John
I don't know, I'm old, I don't know what I'll make. Yeah, okay.
All right, so in essence, in summary, in order to correct, or I don't know if that's even the right word, just to get us
Augment.
back into cleaner accounting principles with the money we've had to take from the water fund and the general fund, we're talking about $39 a quarter.
Correct.
And to then properly pay the serial bonds only from assessment.
Correct.
With potentially decreasing the rates.
Right, which...
However, I would
be-
just caution us before we say we can definitely decrease the rates. We're gonna be under consent order from the DEC, and we don't know how much that's
Well,
gonna cost, and
yeah.
the corrective action we have to take.
I would think if we
Some
have
of
to
the
raise
short-
the assessment to do
yeah.
it this way, we'd be best served to maybe then have a
You know, one of the things that,
3 to 6 month lag before we address the rate, so we can see how it really does flesh out.
Well, myself,
In
Art, and
actual
Michael,
practice.
I've been talking about the sewer budget and looking about the corrective actions we're gonna have to take for our infrastructure study and improvements. So once we have more real numbers there, we'll know
Yeah.
how much income the sewer fund is gonna need, and we're actually gonna try to map out a 5-year plan. So we can say, you know, over the next 5 years, how much income we foresee us requiring. And if that's less than is gonna be brought in with the current rates, then yes, we'll be able to lower those rates.
That's why I
But
say a
before
3
we,
to 6
you know-
month lag to see how it really plays out in practice
Correct.
rather than just theory.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And remember, the $36, the 9 a quarter, at the end of 5 years, theoretically,
Would
will be
go.
gone because
Right.
you would have paid back. And if we do the sewer correctly, we would not have to borrow. And obviously, depending on the town and village settlement or arbitration or whatever, if the town has to pay us the $300,000 that they theoretically owe us, clearly that $36 will immediately go down, because now will only be...
that's more reasonable expectation, I think. I think we know that the costs are going, you know, will continue. So
Yeah, we have that fairly large delinquency with
Well,
a couple other people too that'll...
keeping it totally
And there's chunk
positive,
of
the
money.
bottom line is,
Yeah.
the cost of functioning, the cost of testing, the cost of everything to function here. escalates at such a point, state dictates that come down that are unfunded, that water I know has to put up with it, I know you have to put up with the same thing. I mean, the costs are not going to be diminishing.
Oh, of
And
course
they're
not.
not engendered by us.
No, I know.
And the second part of that is in this year's budget, to answer part of your question, we estimated what chemicals would be, utilities would be. This is the
Yeah.
first time it's online, and if we've estimated low, or the prices were higher, clearly, we're gonna be short in the sewer. So that covers the first two. I'll handle this out of the end, I guess.
Okay.
Okay.
The third issue was the payment for the land. And what I did do was, on the land, I looked at, because everybody seems to be feeling that this is what they needed to hear, what would it be for 20 years, 15
Right.
years,
Oh,
and
okay.
7 years? And of course, I threw in my pet part, what happens if we didn't do it with cereal,
It goes BAN.
with fees, and we simply did it with maybe even a land tax, and so let me explain the issues. We have a 20-year cereal bond. What we don't know at this point is what the rate would be. What we don't know at this point is whether we would get anything from ESC. What we don't know at this point is what the final costs are going to be. So, in order to not to be short and then come back to the public another time, I used the 6% rate. Now, why 6%? When people know they can't get 6% on their municipal bonds? Well, if you follow the municipal bond market right now, you know it's in turmoil. So, I figured 6%, I can't believe will be higher than that. Let's hope we're lower. And on a 20-year payback. The land remediation would cost us $162 a year in additional fees for the sewer, which basically, if you divided that by 4, it's another $40.50 on top of the quarterly amount, which would then give us $36 over 5 years for the repayment for the general and water, $120, $30 a quarter to get the cereal bonds being paid properly, or paid all in one fund, or all in one income flow, and $162 for the remediation. And I also factored in...
That's 20 years for remediation?
That's a 20-year. And I factored in a $78 reduction in sewer rents, which we're not sure will happen. But for comparison purposes, I kept that same number floating on all. So we would then be raised approximately $240 in total costs per year. 36, 120, 162 minus 78. If the 78 doesn't materialize, clearly it would be $318.
Wait, I got 190, so we're talking about an additional assessment per year of $196.50 of the...
$36.
Plus 120.
120,
and 162.
Oh, I'm sorry, I used the wrong number, my bad. Okay.
Now, this time, I'd
Use
like
the
to bring
quarterly
up
number
a
for
new
one.
concept, which is a land tax. And that land tax, instead of costing $162 a year, will cost $186 a year. And I'll discuss that later when we talk about taxes. So the assessment would go from the present $70 a quarter, which is $280. We would then have $280 plus $318, or $598. So figure it's about $400. So the average homeowner will be paying $1,600.
Okay, can you just
Right.
backtrack that for me, because 36 to 120, 36 for the
36
general
is
fund
the-
and water, 120 for the cereal bond, 162 for the remediation, and that brings me to 318.
And 70...
$70 we're doing now.
The existing.
Right,
Okay.
Wait, so it would be 280...
Annual.
Absolutely.
Quarterly.
280.
Oh, excuse me, let me try that again.
So, yeah.
36 annually, 120 annually,
Right,
162 annually,
Correct,
and presently it's 280 annually.
correct. So it's 318 plus 280
Right.
annually.
So,
Okay.
$600 you meant per household, average household, not one, you said 1,200.
Yes.
So it's
Right.
actually 600.
Thank you.
Okay.
Big
My
difference.
quarter is
That's still
Okay.
a lot.
Let me try it again.
600 is great either.
Let me repeat it.
It's a lot better than 1,200.
That's why did you go through it?
36 a year
Right,
for the repayment.
right,
120 a year for the restructure of the bonds.
correct.
162 for the land remediation.
Remediation,
And the 280 we do now.
exactly.
So that's 36, 120, 162, 280,
598 total.
It's 598 for the year,
right,
for the year.
for the year. So it costs 120, 125 a quarter? No,
Yeah.
150 a quarter.
150, yeah.
Right. Numbers, man.
Now, if we did this over 15 years,
Mhm.
I lowered the interest rate just a bit because it's a shorter period of time. We still have the 36, the 120. Now the land remediation is 179. So that would be 36,
Mhm.
120 is 156, 179,
And the existing
And
and
the
the
280.
existing 280.
So you're talking 650,
So the difference
615.
between the two is 179 or
$17.
160 is $17 a year, that's all. But we're gonna pay it for 5 more years.
Okay.
And then, of course, I've done my pet one, which is 7 years,
Right.
or whatever the BANs are allowed, based on when we pay the fines and all that.
Mhm.
That would be 310, but it would only be for 7 years.
7 years.
Okay. Versus the 15, which is 179.
Can we go
versus-
through it in the same fashion that we
Yes.
went through the others,
So
so
it'll be
that,
36
correct,
for the repayment,
right?
120 for the
Right.
restructure, and 310 for the land,
Plus,
Plus the current
The
280.
plus the
280.
current 280. So
okay,
that's 590, 710, 746 a year, divided by 4.
right, per
It's
year.
about $180, right?
Okay,
135,
so-
yeah.
So at the 746 would only be paid for in 7 years.
7
Ellen.
years.
How much interest would we save on 7 years versus 20?
Well, here's the thing I haven't been able to determine, but there could be a huge interest saving.
Mhm.
Number one, I used a 4% for the 7 years, but right now it's only 2%.
Right.
So conceivably, if interest rates did not rise rapidly over the next 2 or 3 years, that would be significantly less. And I did have in my mind what that is, but I'd have to go through my notes to get it.
Okay.
But it would be significantly less.
Well, you said if the interest rates rise, but we'll have a fixed rate, won't we?
Not on the BAN.
Oh, it'll change every year.
Yeah, they change every year, you go out for a new one. But of course, every year you go out for less because you pay down theoretically 1/7 of the principal.
But the 15 or the 20 would be a fixed
Fixed.
rate.
Correct. The other advantage of the smaller period of time is if we were able to get money from the DEC, we can immediately pay down these bonds. And therefore, the time period would either decrease or the amount each quarter would decrease. That's the advantage of the BANs. The disadvantage of the BANs is that there's more for a shorter period of time. The advantage of the BANs is that you're going to pay significantly less. And if you recall, the last time I made that presentation, it was substantial. And we can actually,
Yeah, we have that.
What's the difference, all the first few items, that's kind of our base. We know
that's our
going to
base.
be steady.
Yes.
So just taking the remediation payoff, what was the 7-year versus the 20-year per
Okay,
annual?
20-year is 162,
162.
15-year is 179, and the 7 years, if we get 7 years, is 310.
So this 7 years is about double the cost of 20 years, roughly speaking.
Yeah, a little less than that,
It's double the cost for 7 years.
7 years.
But another way of approaching it is looking at the difference in the interest you're paying if you borrow it for 15 years and 20 years versus paying it off right quick,
And you said it was 310.
I mean, that is a tremendous amount of money. We had those numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if we did go to 2%, that 310, I believe would go down,
Even if we take it at 310.
to about 260.
All right, even if we take it at 310, just so there's a realistic comparison, if you do the 310 versus the cost interest-wise for 15, you know those numbers. You know the numbers for 20. I mean, yeah, you're paying an extra $100 more a year, but you're paying it off in 7 years as opposed to paying interest for 15 and 20 years to cover the same amount.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, but here's, if we did that 7 years at roughly 310, you said,
Yeah.
works out.
Well,
We'd be asking one unit household to pay $2,170 over 7 years towards the stockpile. If we do it 30 years at 162, we'd be asking them to, 20 years,
20
excuse
years.
me, at 162, we'd be asking them to pay $3,240 over 20 years. Total would be their contribution to removing the stockpile.
That's 50%.
Yeah.
50% more. So it's something to consider.
Yeah.
And if we get lucky and get some money from any of the state agencies or federal agencies, clearly that would go quicker.
And we wouldn't be as constrained, because if we do it with the bonds and we get the money after the bonds,
Hard to get.
can't pay it back.
That's right.
But
Hard
if
to
we
get.
do
You
it
have
with
to put it in a
VANs,
fund.
even if it's
Yeah.
2 years from now, we could apply it at that 2-year point.
Exactly. And if you get it, if you happen to get it after you do the serial bonds, which I've never seen, but I'm sure it's doable, now you gotta put that money in a special thing, and for the next 15, 18 years.
Like everybody has
somebody-
the extra money to put into a
they have to-
special account and
and
wait.
You've gotta watch that money, you can't use it for anything else.
Right.
Well, in the short run, the other thing, Ed sent us that very detailed
Mhm.
email based on the discussions he had with you.
Mhm.
We gotta pay NAFTA, so that we would have to ban if we're gonna pay.
Well,
You're
that
gonna be
has
in it
been.
one way or the other. The question
Yeah.
is, when do we start the serial bond?
Right.
Normally, when the thing is done. If we continue the BANs, we could be finished. And the cost of the bond, the legal costs, the fees to the banks each year and all that, obviously, are not even included in these numbers.
Correct.
The point I made before, just because I think it's important to be said tonight also, just because I think everything should be on the table,
Yeah.
let's weigh every option we can. With the 7 years, if we pay it off in 7 years, people are going to pay a lot more in the short term. But my contention with that would be, after 7 years, any new users that we get would not have to pay into that. I mean, if you look at the way the housing market is now, or the market in general, there's not a lot of building going on. I don't foresee a lot of building in the next 1 or 2 years.
Correct.
Right now, if we're using 60% of our capacity in our plant, that's, one portion, but if we bring in new users in the next 10 years, because it's not all gonna happen, shake of a magic wand, then we have all those new people paying in. So what the fixed number is of 160 over 20 years now, when we have new users, that's gonna go down. If we, there's a million question marks, but if we do get new users, more units, it would only make sense for that fixed amount for everyone to go down.
Absolutely, except if you did it over a short period of time with that theory, and that is a correct theory,
Mhm.
why should we, the people who are here now, pay it in a short time, and then people later on get a
I
free
think that's
ride?
exactly what it
The
is.
answer is, you put a fee
I was gonna say,
for all
increase,
new users,
increase the
all
hookup fee.
transfers, et cetera, whatever the case may be.
There were additional fees added on.
And just add fees.
Just add the
And that money
fee,
then
yeah.
comes into the fund, which we're paying the serial bonds down.
Which takes more burden off the individual
Yeah,
homeowner.
we just up the hookup fee.
That's
for future
exactly
people.
right.
Well, you can increase it, but there's a certain ceiling you get.
Well,
You
we
can't
don't wanna
increase
price
it more.
ourselves out of the
I mean,
market,
right now,
then,
we're
yeah.
at $2,500, you can't raise it to, something exorbitant, or
No,
else
I
people start gonna
understand what you're saying.
No, and that's certainly none of us are looking for that. But I think that you're talking in numbers here that an additional $250, an additional $300 is not going to put you into that category, not comparative to the communities around us.
I have a hard time with, people are already struggling, there's gonna be an increased burden. I just would like to try to
Which people-
minimize.
We're all struggling.
Well, $2,500, I think, is a pretty significant fee to hook up.
Let's spend the
That's
same
point.
fee for the last 8 years, 10 years?
I'm not saying that we can't increase that, but there is a ceiling that exists.
Yeah, we don't want to price ourselves
I
out.
do
But
agree.
my point is, if people are hurting right now, you know, I'm not saying it's gonna get better anytime soon, people are hurting. And if we can save people $150 of a burden right now, that's significant. I'm not saying that's the direction we should definitely go in, but let's be clear. If we take the 7-year option, it's gonna be an additional $150 that we could be saving people if we do the 20-year plan.
I'm merely looking to have the numbers be written out so that we really do have a comparison that we can make.
I think that's Mike's
Similar
handout.
where it gets.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the short run, though it may cost me a little bit more, if it means that I know within a certain time frame that will be covered. And I'm not proposing, I just want all of them to be equitable before we come to a determination of which is better.
Let's get everything on the table.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if in the short term, unfortunately, the progress means it's going to cost my husband and I an additional $100 a year for this, and I have to pay it for 7 years, or the cost in the long term for a 20-year payout, how much, I mean, I can calculate the 7 quite readily over the 20, including interest, though my yearly payment may be lower, am I paying twice the amount? And I think that's what the public wants to know, and I think that's what we need to know before we make, come to our final conclusion.
You're absolutely right. The numbers have to be refined more, specifically the interest. What is our interest rate going to be for the VANs if we decided to go that route?
Yeah.
What would it be for 15 years and what would it be for 20?
That's right.
Once we focus in on a direction, we need to get those. There'll always be estimates until we actually go for the bond, but at least that's that. Now, if the VANs are 2%, that $310 comes down to $250.
Great.
So now, it may not be so bad, because you don't, and unfortunately, I don't have those facts to give you.
But we do take some floating risk there.
But it could be 3 years from now, that 2% could be 3.5%.
Right, so we take some floating risk.
Yes, you do take some risk. But you're right, if we clog it up in the beginning, we're going to have a lower rate and save the first at least 1 to 2 years.
I would offer, right now, we're sitting here, wondering, how does the public feel? It's not something we have to decide tonight, but there's the option of holding a public informational session, a charrette or something, where we put the options on the table, give a handout, let the public come and speak to us. Because if we put up for a public hearing, then we've already made a decision, we get input, and we can change our mind, go back again, but before we do that, why don't we invite the public in, let them know the situation, these are the numbers, these are the options, what are your feelings? At least then we can say we had hard feedback where people got to say their views, instead of us just assuming how people feel.
I don't want to assume ever, and I look forward to a public hearing, that's what I always expect to hear. Information meeting is just great, no problem. I totally
The only
support
problem is that we
You have a time factor.
We have time factor. We have a man that's been working for us for quite a while,
And he has to get paid.
No, but he's getting paid because we're getting that BAN money in. He's going to get paid.
Right.
Yeah.
We're getting what money?
The BAN money in, if it hasn't already come in.
Yeah,
This bill is
that's
going to be
coming
paid
in
this month.
Have to get a
What-
VAN.
Because we're taking the BAN
That's already
until we
working its way
decide how
through
to
the
long-term finance it.
Now, what about the shortfall in the general fund and the water fund?
Oh, yeah.
That's not in the works at all.
The immediate,
We have to decide.
can I respond to what
That's-
you
that's
proposed
why-
before they move on?
Sure. We're not moving on, but that's what we have to decide about that, to set up a new system, and this is gonna be entirely up to you guys after I'm gone, but the way it is, that's what a public hearing is for.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stop a public hearing for them to come up with those suggestions. We've never, since I've been the mayor, we've never come into a public hearing knowing what we're gonna do before we hear from the public.
Nor should we.
So, just because we came up, and you can see this when we did it with the zoning, we take input from them at a public hearing, and we've gone back to the table again on zoning time and time again, because we hear from the public. So, to set up another hearing, and of course, it's entirely up to you guys, because I'm gonna be gone, it just seems to be delaying the inevitable. The longer you delay it, the longer it's gonna take to pay it off. So I don't see setting a, these public hearings have been going on long before we've been around, and that's the reason for it. So you have the input. I You know, and again, it's up to you guys, but to have another hearing before a pre-public hearing just seems to be putting a lot of layers in front of it.
I think that was where I was going. The purpose of a public hearing is to propose, provide information, and have the public respond. I think we can combine the two. And having, at the previous meeting, hurry up and get those numbers that we're talking about, so you have a comparison, so that the public can come and discuss it. Set up you know, we will be available at, you know, a work there's not even wait, you know, you can say, we'll be here at Village Hall, representatives of the village board will be here in order to prepare, if that's what you want to do. But the bottom line is, that's the purpose of the public hearing. We just want to have it finite enough so that no one is overwhelmed. We are dealing with such numbers and such comparisons that we want it finite enough so that the public can have it beforehand and understand it, so that when they come into the public hearing, they're not slammed, and they have the opportunity to absorb it and contribute their opinion and try to influence, so we hear what they have to say.
True, but also, we're dealing with a time frame that while it's finite, it's not tomorrow. We need to make this decision before the next billing cycle begins, and I believe it starts on May 1st.
Actually, we have to make it before it ends.
You have to do it before,
Well, no, it's before you commence the cycle. Let's say the billing cycle starts on May 1st, to go out 3 months after the fact. Before people begin consuming for that time, you need to make a decision. So let's say it starts on May 1st, we need to have this local law in place, or not local law, rates
The
by
rates have to
the
be
previous meeting.
Well, and
We
maybe
can't
you had more
function
detailed
without it.
conversation with David about this recently.
Yeah, we did. And that's what he said.
I thought that was only if you were going to increase the rates, not the assessment.
The assessment you can do...
Midstream.
Right, but if there's a rate adjustment attached to it, we need to do it prior.
Right, but that doesn't
I
sound
don't
like
think
it's that
it's
way right away.
realistic to think anything else. Look, realistically, Ed, I think we have to say there's such a distinct possibility that either one of those might have to be raised, or both, that you cannot bank holding off the public hearing
I'm not
on this
looking to hold
in
it off.
order to assuage
Right.
concern. I think to be realistic, we have to say there's a possibility of this, there's a possibility of this, both being raised, or that you need to inform the public so that they have the opportunity to respond, and then we deal with it in the short run rather than the long run, because in truth, the general fund's going to need to be paid off, the water fund needs to be paid back, and Nesty has to get paid.
But what I'm hearing from Mike today is, like, you had raised the concept of, could we raise this money through increases in rates only, or some portion of it through rates only. And he was saying, by and large, except for a few people, a few units in the village, it would actually cost them more if we do it the right way. So, not saying, I won't speak for anyone else, but for me, that doesn't seem very palatable.
Oh.
So, to me, it seems like all we're talking about here is
Remediation costs.
raising assessments at the moment, and not playing with the rates in the short term until we start having this stuff in place, seeing how it really plays out in real life versus just theory, and then maybe 6 to 12 months from now deal with, can we lower the rates? Or do we have to change the rate structure? In which case, when's the end of the next billing cycle, Meg?
The end?
Yeah.
But you normally change the rates at,
You'd have to do it at the beginning. I understand that.
June 1st, it would start June 1st.
Right.
Well, and,
But you don't have to. You could do it every,
well,
you could
you
do
know,
it every
there's
quarter.
a problem here that we have
We're not
not...
gonna change the rates for sewer.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
It would remain the same, so
Right.
you don't really, the question is when and if we can lower we can always do that. in the
Mid-fiscal
next
year or
fiscal
whatever.
year, yes.
Right. Right.
But we have a shortfall of the 483, which we already had. And now we just found out that the water fund lent 118.
But that
So
would
we
be...
have a very,
118.
for the size of our budget, we have a huge shortfall in our general fund for that fiscal year that I can't see us continuing to the next fiscal year. That's just
That needs to
crazy.
be ended
Oh,
now.
yeah, no.
We're all in agreement
Yeah, I think we're all
on the
in
first
agreement.
few items, that we
Yeah.
need to do all those things. What I'm talking about is weighing the 7-year versus 10-year versus 20-year.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Because that's a significant decision
Absolutely.
that's bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
And I'm not, downplaying the importance of zoning, but this is gonna hit people in the pocketbooks, and I don't see the problem with having a night, no, you guys don't even have to come. Give me a room, a PowerPoint, and a notebook, and let me invite you. I don't see, the...
I don't think anyone is saying don't inform in public, and I wouldn't want that to be my reaction being construed that way. I'm simply saying that the purpose of a public hearing is for the public to have the opportunity to respond. You're looking for a way to best educate the public so that they can have an informed response. I think we all back that. Go ahead and do it.
The difference would be, a public hearing, you put forward the decision you're probably going to make. You're leaning towards this thing. We would say, our public hearing on taking out a 15-year or 20-year or 7-year bond. And at that point,
that's really the basic difference.
really don't like being interrupted. And I'll continue to say that.
I'm very sorry. I thought we were working together.
Right, but working doesn't entail interrupting.
Go ahead.
Okay, so if we have a public hearing, we're going to say, okay, we're talking about a 7-year, what does everyone think? And we would either close the public hearing and enact the decision, or we would keep it open. Instead of already coming and saying, this is what we're leaning towards, what do you think? Why not me and say, this is our options, what are your thoughts on this, before we have a public hearing? I mean, why put the cart in front of the horse?
Of course you can.
Here's option A, here's option B, here's option C, and here's option D.
Of course.
Everyone now
Public hearing,
tells
you propose something definitive, and you get people's
Okay,
response.
I don't know the exact
As
answer
opposed
to that.
to explaining the situation, the options, getting feedback,
Mhm.
taking that into consideration, then formulating your final concept to put in front of the public hearing.
Right.
That's the difference.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Thank you. A board of trustees is elected in order to be able to, on a daily basis, deal with the information and come to the best enlightenment that we can using our professionals and talking with each other and sharing them, which we do in earnest constantly. The concept of a public hearing is to say, here is what we're thinking. The public, please let us know what you're thinking. We then go back and consider our response to what the public has provided, or any other individual who walks into the room, or even just a new idea that comes to us as a result of what they're saying. And then you take a vote, majority rule, that's how you come to a conclusion. We have public board meetings constantly. We are giving information to the public constantly. I don't know that, I certainly agree with sharing with the public and having the public share with us, and us working together with the public and having conversations at work sessions and at public hearings. But when it comes down to, here is the law or the rate that has to be determined, the decision we have to make, I don't know that I think it's the way that I see the role of a public hearing, or our role as to saying, here's column A, here's column B, here's column C, tell us what to think. I think we are so open in sharing our information and saying, public, please come and exchange with us. Here's what we think we're talking about. This is what we've come to. We've talked about this in trying to come to conclusion here, because they are such difficult decisions. It's our job, in my opinion at any rate, to say, here's our best thought. Please tell us what you think. We also have alternatives A, B, C, and D that we've been struggling with. Tell us what you think. That's what the role of a public hearing is. And then we listen to what they say, we talk again together, and we come to a conclusion. I don't disagree with you at all about sharing information. I just would not want the role of the public hearing to be obfuscated by another step. I think we all want the same thing. I think we're dealing with difficult issues, and we want public participation, and we want to hear what they have to say. But the law is quite clear on how we pass laws here, or how we change rates, and how we deal with this. And I would just want that to be clear and clean. That doesn't mean you can't say from 2 to 5, I'm going to be here because I care about this, and I want the public to come on in and talk to me. God, they used to, we've all sat on Saturday mornings with pizza, trying to get people, afford people the opportunity to come in when they're working. And I think this is kind of the same thing, and I think that's what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm not saying we assert the authority of a public hearing, but let's say we
That's
schedule
all my concern.
one date for a public hearing, a Monday in mid-April. The prior week on a Wednesday night, just say, there's going to be a public information session, we'll put some information out, let people talk. It's not official,
We've done
there's no need to be a quorum, just something as simple as that.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
That doesn't get in the way of the public hearing
Oh,
process.
no, I was never
Which is what
suggesting we
this,
do.
my concern is.
I think that another vehicle to allow the public to put their views out there, it's, more information can only help us.
Great.
I'd like to go back,
Once again,
I'd like to go back, how are we paying this?
We authorized 2 weeks or whatever ago it was, a couple of weeks ago, to take out a bond anticipation note. So we're getting the ability to take $7 million out.
I don't know.
I don't know the timing of it. It's gonna, if it hasn't happened yet, John, it's gonna happen
Should be
in
the
the coming
second week of
days.
March is my
Okay, it's gonna
understanding.
come next week, where we will actually be able to draw that money down. We won't have to repay it right away. We have a whole year to technically to figure out how we're gonna repay it, although we won't obviously take nearly that long. So when his bills come in, we can just draw down on that bank account, quote unquote. It's like almost a little equity line of credit on your house. It's a similar analogy. You can draw.
Now, the last issue, there's one more.
I don't understand that, because we're on the subject of the public hearing. Do we want to set up a public hearing or not at the next meeting?
I don't think there's any harm in setting one, but I don't think we want to set it for any time soon, because we still don't know what Nesty's final costs are gonna be. We have a good idea.
But that's, okay, so yours is no.
No,
I'm just looking for a sense of the board, I'm not looking for any
Because, no.
reason.
I'm not opposed to setting one,
It'll
but
affect
I'm
the
opposed to
larger
setting
assessment.
one for next week.
No, I'm not gonna say, I would, the earliest I can say would be,
7 million, whatever.
I think we should do it in April.
yeah.
I would think late April.
I would be comfortable late April.
I would think late
We have to
April.
do it in April.
April, yeah, that's what I was,
I don't
but
think we have to-
I mean, you guys said it.
We have to set it now in order to hold.
I want to say, if the sense of the board is that at the next meeting, we set it. What's, all right, so
Maybe
everybody's,
talking-
nobody's in disagreement with setting it.
Correct.
What date do we want to set it? Maggie got the dates there for our meeting?
The second public
We'd
meeting.
be talking in April.
meeting in April, we have to adopt the budget, so I don't know if you want to do it that way. Or just setting it.
You can set the public hearing for the work session, the week before.
Okay.
You could do that, John.
What?
You could set the public hearing for the work session the week before.
Or how
I
about the
mean,
week
you're
after?
allowed to, as long as you're announcing it and publishing it.
So how about May 2nd, we do it the week after? That's
I
why
have
dragged
great
this out, whether
concerns
we'll
going
do-
into May,
That's fine, I don't have,
not me. I back doing it in April.
No, we're doing it in April.
there, doesn't matter to me, we can do it
I'm fine with April, it's this work session between the two.
Actually, we
can't-
Yeah.
Marcia, we can't do
There
it
isn't
April
one
18th.
passed out.
Why?
That's the first night of
Well,
Passover.
then we can't do it then. All right, then do it
All right,
the
so
first one.
what's the date?
May 2nd would be the,
We can't put this off till May.
we'll do the budget and this public hearing the same night?
For a regular meeting,
Yeah.
the 11th.
You got the 11th, and the next one is the,
25th, which is when we gotta do the budget.
So we have,
So do it on the
Is that the budget hearing though, or is that just adopting the budget?
Adopted.
It's adopted.
So that's just voting on it, then, I think we could probably do it the same night. It would be a long meeting, but that's.
No, I don't
the
think
worst
the
thing in the
length of
world.
the meeting isn't a big deal, that's fine.
You want to have the budget and...
either one's fine with me, I just want it done in April.
I'd rather have that the same night.
Well, we can't do it the
early April.
18th, yeah, because
all right,
we won't be
so
here, it's close.
at the next meeting, we'll schedule the public hearing for
The 25th,
25th. That's our last meeting in April?
Correct.
All right, so,
done.
Done.
Sold.
Before May.
yeah, that's okay.
You wanna talk to us
Now,
about tax?
I just want to get that straight, so we'll say,
Thank
so make
you,
them yell
John.
at me to say I forgot something yesterday.
We finally landed.
Okay, the number 4th issue is, the question has come up about the deductibility of the assessment
Assessment only.
fees and the options concerning that. Now, it is clear that if it
Well, that's
is
refreshing.
a real estate tax on a land or building, which is everyone who is eligible to pay tax, that means exempt, forget the tax exempts for a moment, and it's based on a fixed number like your assessment. It is clearly a real estate tax, and it's clearly deductible for those people who are capable of itemizing their deductions on their tax return. The assessment fees, even though they're capital in nature, there are gray areas that determine whether that is a deduction or not for income tax. I did a study on that for another municipality about 5 or 6 years ago. And the conclusion was that the only way we're going to be absolutely sure that we can deduct this is to ask the IRS for a ruling. The rulings used to be free, now they're about $3,500. And the question there is, do we want to spend time and money for the IRS to tell us no?
Can I send you, and I'll find it in my basement this weekend, I think I have the revenue ruling on that.
Okay.
And the answer on the
Well, that would
assessment,
be
not the
mine.
usage, but the assessment was
So
yes, but I'm not the accountant, so I wanted you to double check it. I'll scan it and email it to you.
I have looked up the different, people go to the IRS and ask them for an opinion, and the ones that have come through on assessments have been negative. They are not deductible. I have a couple also.
Okay, I'll send you the one I have and
See if we
see
can match
what.
up.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm right, I don't
They've been
know.
relatively recent too, so
Okay.
I don't believe they're going to be deductible in the form that we have as an assessment.
Correct.
Which leads me to the next possibility to consider. Now, I know it's different for this village, and it would take some time to put in effect and to check all the legalities of who and what would get assessed. But if we did a land tax, on the 7-year one, just for an example, we're talking $310 for the assessment. It would then be $355 if we did a land tax. Now, what's the advantages that I see on that? One, we would get paid immediately in June when the people pay their real estate taxes. And since most people pay it, or many people pay it through their mortgage escrow, clearly that $355 would be spread over 12 months. Second, it would then clearly be deductible because it would be based on an evaluation of land. Now, so I then said, what would be the average deduction? And well, there's nobody average anymore. But a normal, everyday, common variety person who itemizes their deductions are probably, at a minimum, paying a 20% tax rate in one form or another. Many are paying 25, some are paying obviously much more. On a 20% tax rate, that $355 would be a savings on their income tax of about $70. So if you take the $355 and subtract 70, you've got $285, which is less than the $310. For the people who are making, who are in a higher tax bracket, their savings would be even greater. For the people who are in business and are deducting this, they deduct it anyway, whether it's an assessment or not.
But now the average person can.
But now the average person would get the opportunity to do that. However, those people who are on fixed incomes and all that would not get the deduction because either they don't file a tax return or they're taking the standard deduction and therefore would not benefit from it. So they would pay more. And that's the
There's the yin and the yang.
And of course, my position would be that all the assessments be on the land tax, so everybody would get an income tax deduction. However, one of the calculations that I did shows the difficulty in that because different people would pay a lot more compared to the assessment, and different people would pay a lot less compared to the assessment. But on this small amount of money over a 7-year period, it might be something to consider.
Legally speaking, can revenue generated from a land tax go into the sewer fund?
Yes, it would be a sewer land tax. It goes only into the sewer fund. And yes, as far as I know, and I'm not an attorney here or a legal mind, I believe the exempt organizations would also pay as they are paying the fee.
What about properties that don't use sewer?
They would pay too.
Everyone pays.
But out of district people.
Any landowner
can't be
pays.
taxed by us.
Land,
That's the
based
thing.
on land. The average land assessment is
Can't tax out of
$26,000.
I'm sorry?
We can't tax out of district.
No, the people out of district wouldn't be paying squat. So you'd have
People
to
out of district, you would obviously have to set up a fee structure which
Right.
would be equivalent to...
elevated to cover the same, so
Right.
no one's paying any more than,
Exactly.
or any less.
So that's a deduction kind of deal. Now, I've backed off from trying to convince you to take the whole serial bond thing into the land, but here's an opportunity over a 7-year period to
To give it a test.
to give it a test and see if, how it responds. And clearly, since it's principal and interest, theoretically, it goes down every year because you're paying less interest.
Mhm.
So therefore, that particular tax filters on a downhill, and everyone can see it going down. And it is a way to fund things that are not large over time, because you could do it over. Now, you've done that already with next door here, the Salesian. You've done that with, I think, one other item, all of which we paid off, and now we don't have anymore. Just a thought. For 20 years, I've done that number. It's 186 versus 182.
Hang on.
186 versus 182 on the land part. For 15 years, it's 205 versus 179, and for 7 years, it's 355 versus 310. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
And you have this all in writing. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions?
I'm full. I'm full.
I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm going to give this in May to give out. The pages that you're getting, the pages with land remediation are 3 sheets, 7 years, 15 years, and 20 years. You also will see, because I threw that number in, the average sewer reduction, obviously it's not going to take place right away. You can obviously post that out.
Okay.
On the other group, it's simply a little bit more backup on the $36 for paying back the water in general, and the $120, which is to get the serial bonds all paid for together.
So you on the second group?
So you've got, the first thing is the annual assessment for the payback.
Right.
The second group is the $120 for the remediation.
Okay.
And the third, which is 3 sets, for 7, 15, and 20 years.
Okay. Thank you. That's a lot of work.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Mike.
much, Mike.
You're welcome.
I just want to remind everybody, got the emails from Meg that the next 2 meetings will be at
There's extras too.
At the senior center.
Senior Center.
What's the reason for that?
Well, the next one is because they're going to be set up for elections. And with the new sheets, you know, the night before, so we expect a big turnout for elections.
And then 28th is same thing.
And the 28th is going away. And we're also going to thanks a lot, Mike. We're also
And we have a
gonna-
policeman.
we're going to get,
That's-
you know,
oh, yeah.
the police, the fire department, and the town
Business.
police for helping save the life of one of our citizens.
Thank you.
Just one more thing.
Sure.
When you're ready, let me know, so I will then spend the time to get a better idea of the rates.
Which way?
Well, it's gonna be,
It
we're
was-
gonna have the public hearing
now.
on April, what?
So by then,
By then.
By then, for sure.
you want more definitive numbers on the
Absolutely.
proposals.
Yeah.
Now,
We need that ahead of time, so
Yes.
that when people ask us the information, we can provide them with the more.
is there any of the proposals that you have thought about eliminating, so we don't have that extra?
I think that
30.
30 gone. 15, I
Then
think,
the 20.
is anybody interested in the 15? I thought it was just a consideration of 20 or 7, or 6. Is anybody interested in 15? Do all that work for 15? No.
No,
Look at 20.
It's either
the
it's
20
long-term or
Yeah,
short-term.
yeah.
None of
Some
this
houses do it away with
middle
that.
Rather
ground
spread it
stuff.
out, or you do.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
No, I'd say 20 would get.
Those are the options.
I would
Yep.
agree.
All right.
So.
Wait, now
adjourned.
The work session.
Wait, the work session, we're allowed to.
You done working?
Are you done working?
Good.
Worked out.
Thank you very much.